Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Awesome Wholesaler Experience podcast, where we look into the many facets of the job, the career, and the lifestyle of investment and insurance product wholesaling. I'm your host, the creator of the Awesome Wholesaler Experience, and yours truly, Awesome Mike. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in today. On today's show, we have a very special guest. And I know I say that about a lot of our guests, and frankly, they are all special to me. But today's guest is Miss Alison Maloni. So please sit back and enjoy this most impressive biography. Alison Maloni is the CEO of Alison Public Relations. Now, Alison is a former journalist, having worked in television in New York, Massachusetts, and even, wait for it, Rhode Island. Now, people say Alison was born to be a storyteller, and in fact, she is an acclaimed keynote speaker, a broadcaster, and a media relations expert. Maybe guru is a more appropriate title. Now, she's the host of the online show called The Hustle, where she features entrepreneurs, politicians, and inspirational people who are working hard, yes, hustling, to make a difference in the world. Alison emphasizes the importance of using social and digital media to deliver your message. Alison is an extremely proud mother of 3 young girls who inspire her every day to be a better person, and she is very vocal about the real challenges of being a working mom, and she often shares her own solutions that help her maintain that healthy work-life balance. Now, Alison has been featured in Time Magazine, Daily Worth, Reputation Management, and has even been on the Dr. Oz show. Alison has garnered coverage for her clients in media outlets such as NBC News, Fox News, MSNBC, The Huffington Post, AOL.com, and The Washington Post. But wait, there's more. Now, in addition to all of that, which is very impressive indeed, I happen to be one of the thousands of her fans that enjoy her tip of the day postings on LinkedIn. These vlogs, well, they're only about 10 seconds long, but they are always packed full of great info. Yes, great tips to improve your public relations and media presence. Please help me give a warm welcome to our special guest today, Ms. Alison Maloni. Hi, Alison. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Great. Well, that was an amazing introduction.
I might even say it was awesome. Thanks.
That was awesome.
But thank you for your work and doing all of that. And it truly is a pleasure to have you on the show. I've been a fan of yours, like I mentioned, for quite some time, and you do have quite a following, on LinkedIn and many other media outlets, but especially on the the business one, which is supposed to be LinkedIn. So, hey, really quickly though. I want to ask you a quick question before we get going. And I'm going to read it because this might sound familiar to you.
Okay.
All right. Dun, dun, dun. Was there a moment in your life that changed the way you thought about things, personally or professionally?
Oh, wow. That's a tough question.
That's a question that you ask, actually. And I read that in one of your posts there. And, well, I figured that yours, Alison, yours might have been sometime during the Celtic Thunder show.
They are one of my favorite bands. I will say that. I do. I'm
kind
half
of
Irish.
looked like an Irish boy band to me, frankly.
Well, they are very cute. No, I'm half Irish, and actually my best friend's mother-in-law introduced them to me. And at first I thought they were, the guys who dance in those leotards. And I said, I'll just go. That's fine. And that's what I thought it was. And then we went and I said, who are these guys? They are really cute. But they play good music. But I think the number one thing in my life is when I woke up 5 years ago, almost last week was on my 5-year anniversary for my business. And
Steal my thunder. I was going to congratulate you. It's coming up, but go ahead.
I woke up and I said, I'm going to start my own business. And I never, ever imagined, I never wanted to have a business. I was not that kid selling lemonade or, rocks or whatever. I just woke up and decided to do it and go for it. I had no business plan. I had nothing. And I just went for it. And from that day on, my life has changed significantly.
So can you go back maybe 48 hours prior to that? Because normally a moment like that is like a volcano. Yeah. And there's all this pressure that builds up and builds up and builds up. And all of a sudden, Mount St. Helens, half the country is covered in ashes. So was there some things that were happening in your life that really caused you to say, hey, this is it?
I just had my third child. I was working part-time doing some consulting, and I just wasn't really happy. And I wanted to still work, but be able to take care of my children and have that flexible schedule. So initially, that's why I did it. But then what happened was, after I started getting more clients, my passion for this was, I can't even explain how I felt. I loved it. And it was based, when I was a journalist, I loved my job. And we can get into that later about why I got out of the business, but I loved it. I mean, it was different every day. There was so much energy. It was just such an adventure. And so when I started really getting into it, I started getting media exposure for my clients. I turned this into a part-time gig, into a full-time plus another job. But I was glowing again. I was happy. I was able to be home with my kids if they had a soccer game or whatever it may be. Then I just work late or I get up early. So it was a little bit about just kind of not knowing where I wanted to be, and being a little unhappy with the job I was in at that point, and just not feeling like I was doing anything meaningful.
It's like the American dream. I mean, that really what it is. Was it spawned from, uncomfortable in your comfort, and then a little bit of following your passion, and then all of a sudden it caught fire, and now Alison May Public Relations is probably a behemoth as a boutique.
Yeah.
And it's definitely you. Sidebar, Alison May sounds great, sounds interesting. Your middle initial is L, though. So
yes.
Is there a story behind Alison May?
There is. So my mom's middle name was May, and she passed away when I was 4. So when I started my business, I wanted to have her be a part of it, because I talked to her every day. I prayed to her, and my first daughter's middle name is May as well. So when I just said, this just makes sense. So a lot of people do think that my middle name or my last name is May, but it's my mom's middle name. So she's been a part of the business, which I believe is half the reason why I've been so successful, because she's watching over me.
Well, welcome to the show, Mom, and great job. I'm sure that your multi-generations of little Mays are making your mother's heart warm. So great job with that one.
Thank you.
So my next question was to really tell you happy anniversary, 5 years already. Wow. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Probably been a little bit of a winding road. They often say in business that the train doesn't go straight up the mountainside. There's cutbacks and.
Yeah. And just when you think you're going straight, all of a sudden you just hit that turn. And, I posted something on social media about the day in the life of an entrepreneur, where you're like, I've got this, we're great. And then 2 minutes later, you're like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Or it's so many emotions. And the bigger you get, the easier you think it's going to be, but it's actually more difficult, because now you have a team and you have to manage, and then you're dealing with all other things that you never thought about. And so it's constantly a challenge, but I hope and pray that it'll get easier, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I would not do any other job than this.
Yeah, I agree with you. Once you've had a taste of it, and the taste of really the freedom, I think, which is the biggest proponent of it, you can almost never go back. You can go back, but you'll never go back permanently.
Yeah, it's the freedom is a great word, and you have freedom, but you also go to bed at night. You and I were talking, and we have insomnia, and you lay there awake at night and think about, okay, what happens if I don't get this invoice, or what happens, or you have a team, and they're relying on you, and you have so many balls in the air, and it's a very scary thing. And sometimes you do wish that maybe you could just go back to work 9 to 5 and know you're going to get that paycheck every week, and you can turn off work at 5:15 and not have to think about it again. But again, there's pros and cons, but I think there's a lot more pros than cons.
So a lot of our listeners and viewers are field territory sales rep or wholesalers, like I mentioned. There's also financial advisors. There's also media, or basically marketing personnel for these different companies. And a lot of them are on the road traveling. And as you know, the hectic travel life can be enough to put you over the edge, not to mention if any business things go wrong. What do you do to kind of reset? Do you meditate? Obviously you work out, you're looking like, remember Sarah, was it Sarah Connors? That's who you look like from the
From Terminator? I love it.
Terminator 2 though, back in the day when she had that shotgun.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I remember that scene.
That's you. Anyways, what do you do though? How do you manage that?
Yeah, I do. I have Headspace, which is a great app on your phone. It's free and it's a meditation tool. And believe me, I have a friend, John Myers from England, who told me, you must meditate. I'm like, John, I can't even do yoga. Like, I can't. I'm sitting there in yoga thinking about how I want a chocolate milkshake. You want me to meditate? But I do try to do it a couple of times a week, more so when I am traveling, because it's just exhausting. And, fortunately I stay like on the East Coast, so I'm not going back and forth and having to deal with different time zones. But, so I meditate. I do try and work out as much as possible. I mean, the other day I was coming back from a client and I didn't get to go to the gym, and I was in the DC airport, Dulles, and they have these stairs. And I'm like, all right, I'll just do the stairs. And, I probably burned like 2 calories, but then I had a glass of wine. So it just didn't really matter. But, but meditation, even if it's just for a couple minutes, you can get centered and focused. One of the things I actually do is one of my team members gave me a book called The Magic. And I don't know if you ever heard about The Secret. Well, it's similar to that. And you're supposed to read a chapter once a day. And each day you do one thing every day, and then you add something else in. So every day, you're sort of write down 10 things that you're thankful for and why. So every morning I wake up, I read these 10 things I'm thankful for. And then each day you have a different task to do. And then, I know this sounds kind of quirky, but you take a rock, they call it your magic rock, a stone, at night, and you hold on to it and you think about the one thing that you're thankful for that day. That's really helped me, because it brings you back to, we all sit there and complain. We're tired. We're this, we're that. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stressed. But we don't really think about how we're thankful, like the things that we receive and things that we have in life. So it does help kind of center me. I know it's kind of quirky, but it works.
Yeah, no, I think it's any kind of a symbol that you can do, any kind of an activity that you can do that really, I think, just quiets the noise. And oftentimes by focusing on something like a posture position in yoga, or an inanimate object like your lucky rock, or some people have their favorite watch or whatever. I train in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
So when I'm on the mat for that hour and a half, I am not thinking about anything except for that person that's trying to choke me.
Yeah, that's intense. That's very different than yoga and meditation.
Yeah, actually, you would be, martial arts, I would agree, but you would actually enjoy, and I tell this to everyone, so I'm not just pointing you out, but there's something about jiu-jitsu. And the overall premise that makes it different from other martial arts is that with jiu-jitsu, you can defend yourself, Alison, without hurting the other person. And that's the problem with, like, Krav Maga or karate. If I'm bothering you, you can't like half kick me in the head, or half gouge my eyeball out. But you could maneuver your body so that you could be defending yourself, and then eventually you just kind of like a patient snake or something that basically get in a position to where now you can control me. And it's really wonderful for kids as well. It's kind of like a superpower, because they know they can defend themselves, so they have that confidence that's out there. And really, it's quick. Someone that's never trained in martial arts can train in jiu-jitsu for about 6 months, 2-3 times a week for 6 months, and you will be able to defend yourself against the great majority of everyone out there.
Well, I definitely need that. So I should definitely look into
it is so worth it. Yeah. And then you can even have a girlfriend go with you. So you got a training partner. And anyways, I'm a lifelong martial artist, and I've only been doing jiu-jitsu now for a couple of years, and it has changed my life. And it's really given me some great confidence, but also it's made me respect people a lot more. I'm not trying to size people up all of the time, like you do in karate. Okay, where's the exit, and how would I do this? And maybe the military's got me doing that a little bit too mentally. But ideally, with jiu-jitsu, is I can live and let live. And there's not a bunch of submission with all the bowing and all that nonsense. There's no like hiya and all that craziness going on there. It's really cool. And so I always encourage people to do it. You would like it as well, because you are athletic. So, hey, let's get into some business stuff. One of your posts, you say that everyone has a business plan, a marketing plan, and I'm familiar with both of those. In fact, a marketing plan is a subset of the business plan. But then you mentioned a PR, a public relations plan. And then what I really want to get into, though, is this thing that you call a crisis communications plan. So are they all subsets? Is the PR plan a subset of your marketing plan? And then
Yes.
the crisis, can you kind of tell us, how you do that?
Yeah, sure. So PR works with marketing. They work together. So whatever you're really doing marketing, you should be tailoring. I call it a piece of puzzle. So you've got your business plan, you've got your marketing, then you have your PR, and then your crisis plan. They all do work together. You want to obviously have the same message. So marketing, you're reaching out obviously to people that you're trying to, get to buy your product or to do business with you. And then the PR kind of backs that up to point you as the expert or to show the public how great your company is or your product. And but the crisis plan, everybody should have it. And back in the day, it was just big companies that had it, like the United Airlines or the major companies, because they were susceptible to major crises. A plane goes down or, whatever the case may be. But now everybody needs one because of social media. And a crisis does not have to be a mass shooting. A crisis for a small business, which say it's a restaurant, could be 3 people get food poisoning one night. And that is a crisis for them because they are to be sure to take to social media and tell everyone how sick they got or whatever may happen at that restaurant. So every business needs to know how to handle that. What do you do internally? Who's going to talk to the media? Who's responding on social media? How do you address the concerns of your customers or clients? And that crisis plan maps out how you do it. And each industry, you can figure out what are you susceptible to. So if you are you're a home healthcare agency and you go in and you help elderly folks, well, there's a couple things. There could be, theft allegations. There could be, unfortunately, like sexual assault allegations. Those types of things are common to what happens in that particular industry. So you can figure out what are you susceptible to, and then you kind of go from there. But it's really important to have a plan in place and to make sure everybody's on the same page and to revisit that plan probably every 6 months.
So, Alison, is that something that your firm can provide to folks? And that's kind of a rhetorical question, but the listeners on the show, I've been in this business almost 20 years, and I've never heard of anyone's crisis communications plan. So I'm thinking of an investment company or even a financial advisor that has something come up, has a crisis come up. Could you and your firm, would you tailor something to that industry? And if you did, what would some of the major things be? Let's just kind of role play. Let's say that I'm working for a company, and today's issue of the Wall Street Journal has my company on there, and one of our executives has just been named in a lawsuit, or even let's just say that. What would be the plan, or what would some things that they can do? What would they be?
Well, they have to initially have a conversation internally with everyone in the staff, because what you don't want to happen is you don't want your staff talking to the media. You want to have one particular person, whether it be your spokesperson or your attorney or somebody. So the media will try to get information from anyone and everyone, especially in that type of case. So they're going to email, they're going to go on social media, they're going to find out who works there, they're going to maybe wait for them in the parking lot, and your team needs to know what to say. Yes, I'm sorry, if you want more information, please contact so-and-so. Here's their number. And that's it. Don't say yes, don't say no, just give them that statement. So you want to make sure that you are like the gatekeeper, and then the media only gets that one person. Basically, you would be working with your attorneys and your PR person to come up with a statement that you want. You want to address the media. You don't want to ignore them. You don't want to say no comment. And a lot of attorneys would probably disagree with me, because obviously they want to keep everything, quiet, and they want to help their clients. But what you can do is give the media something without revealing too much information. We're currently investigating, we're currently looking into this, just something very basic in general. And then just say, when we have more information, we'll get back to you. But just address the media, because it looks really bad. I mean, when you watch TV, if they say we reached out to so-and-so and they refuse to comment, it makes you look like you're hiding something. So even if you can give them something generic, and then obviously social media, and you want to be able to address your clients, because right now your clients are nervous. What does this mean for me? What does this mean for my money? Can I trust you if your CEO's in trouble? So you want to have a plan, and how are you going to address them? How many clients do you have? Do you call them individually? Do you do an email to them? Do you put something out on social media? So it really all depends on what you have, internally and externally, and who your clients are, but you want to communicate. And when you communicate, people will believe and trust you. When you are hiding and you don't answer the calls, they think that you're hiding something. So the key is to be as authentic as possible. And obviously you want to protect the company. So it's that fine line, but just communicate, because if you don't, your clients are not going to trust you, and they're
Alice, I'm sure that some people have you on speed dial 911.
There's been a couple times that we've gotten some calls, actually the last couple months, and it's like, oh boy. So, and every crisis is different, every issue is different. But we always say, whenever something happens, you're going to call your CFO, or you're going to call your attorney, but call your publicist too. And if you don't, you can do, if you're a smaller company, you can do your own crisis plan. There are templates online. I mean, you can do that, and it's fine to have that plan, but it's making sure that you know what to do with that plan and how to execute everything that
you can also do your own dentistry, but I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So I appreciate that, and wholesalers and managers that are listening to this, if you'd like to reach out to Alison, I'm sure that she could help you and your firms develop your own crisis communication plan. And then, and of course, they can probably reach out to you if they find themselves in a situation.
Yeah, that does happen. Yep,
yeah,
it happens.
We just had one, and it's still unwinding now, a few years later. But we had like the behemoth in the industry, $20 billion company. And they were brought down because of a $20 million sweep it under the rug kind of a scenario. And once that fire lit, it just got worse and worse and worse. And they obviously, or maybe I'm wrong, but they didn't have what I would call a productive plan in place, to handle that. So I think you can prevent that.
Yeah, you know what company actually does a really good job with a crisis is Disney. They've had some issues in the last couple of years, but the way they handle it is they are just top notch. So if you ever want to see or research companies that handle a crisis in a good way and manage it, is Disney. They do a great job.
I do know about them a little bit. In fact, in the park, like if you're in the park and you're there, and usually around, the afternoon is when it happens, when these kids start just melting down.
Yes, I've been there.
That's it, right? And that's like a rite of passage for a parent, I think. But they have the ability, any cast member can go into any sundry store, grab an item, and they call it a service something item. They can grab an item and give it to the kid. Like there's no protocol. It's literally, if I'm wearing a badge, I can go into your store and say, hey, I have a service, recovery issue, whatever. Grab something, boom, take it to the kid. And you think about it, that's like the worst thing ever is the people that are going to remember the horror show of leaving the park.
Oh, yes.
Tired kids and cranky parents, what have you. So that they are world class, and indeed, Disney is.
They are.
Okay, so I have another quote for you, and this is another thing that you said.
Oh, geez. I hope I remember. I say a lot of stuff.
You sure do. You sure do. Allegedly, you said this. How about that? Okay. Henry Ford said, "The man who stops advertising to save money is like the man who stops a clock to save time."
I do remember that. That is one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah, well, then you said this. Well, he's wrong. You should not be spending a dime on advertising until you understand your core values, until your brand is established. End quote. Now, for me, it sounds like a little bit of the chicken or the egg problem. Like, which comes first? Core values, getting them out there, or actually establishing your brand, or spending money on PR? What do you think? How can we develop that?
Yeah, you want to establish your brand and your values first, because the last thing you want to do is what we call spray and pray. You just throw something to the wall and hope it sticks. You want to really spend time and come up with your brand, your messaging. It goes down to the basics. If you don't have a website or your social media, you have 2 followers and you're trying to advertise to people, right now it's all about perception. And you could have really lousy coffee, but if you have a great social media following and you have an amazing website and great reviews, people want to buy your coffee. You want to make sure that you have everything lined up, and then you start marketing and advertising, and then with your PR. I know it's difficult because when you start a business, you want to just get everything out there. You want to start bringing people, to call you or to come to your door, but you want to make sure you have everything lined up, even if it's even staff training. So you're a restaurant and you just open up and you announce it. You hear about soft launches because they want to work the kinks out. So I know that it's frustrating for a lot of people because they want to just get that advertising out, but you've got to make sure everything's set and ready from your core values, from your team, from your messaging, your social media. And your website does not need to be amazing. It just needs to be very basic. People go to social media a lot more than they're going to your website now. They want to see you on Instagram. They want to see you on Twitter or Facebook, and also know where your audience is too. If you're a B2B, obviously you want to have a high presence on LinkedIn. Facebook may not be where you want to spend all of your time and money. So you want to see where is your audience, and then you can figure out where to spend your money.
You've used video very effectively, not only in your days working on the news desk and in the field as a reporter, but also in your current business. In the 5 years of, call it success or great growth, a lot of it's been driven by your personality. So imagine that we're working for a company and the company comes out with a new investment product. Kind of an okay idea. We can kind of pencil it on the back of a napkin. Not proven. Website is very, clunky, if you would, and we need to get the message out. Well, these companies, they don't have a very patient methodology. Time is money, and they are, the tortoise or the hare. Well, they are the hare on coffee. So, and that's HARE, not okay. So what would you say if you were given the ability to be the PR person, the marketing guru for an investment firm that wants to launch a new product, or I should say, what if I just took a new job with an investment company and now I'm new to this, call it area? I might have a couple of connections from a previous relationship with a firm, but I'm basically the new guy for the company in my area. What would be some basic things that we can do to kind of get things rolling?
All right. So if you're the new guy to the area, you want to put content out. And it doesn't necessarily have to even be about your company or your product. You want to be the expert in your industry. So whether you do a tip of the day, I know in the financial world you can't really advise, but you can write a blog about top 5 things to ask your financial advisor. What should you know? Keep it very simple and to the point, kind of like the tip of the day. But if you don't feel comfortable on camera, just do a quick blog. Share your expertise. You want to provide as much value and education to people as possible, because then they're going to start to trust you and they're going to see you as an expert. So while you may not be talking about the new product you have, they're going to start recognizing you. And then as you start building that base, then you can start saying, hey, just wanted to let you know we have this new product. Or, hey, did you know that this company has been around for 20 years and here's some of the cool things they're doing. So build your credibility and reputation. And then from there, you can start selling, but you're not even really selling. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, it does completely. In fact, it's amazing in America and probably worldwide now, but at least in the first world countries, something magic about being behind a camera. If someone sees you behind a camera, they give you the benefit of the doubt, especially if it's like on a show. Now, if it's a selfie or something that's ridiculous, maybe not, but they start to look at it, and you kind of get the benefit of the doubt, really. And I think it's a huge mistake if folks don't use that. Now, and that coming from me, that means a lot. Someone with the face for radio, I've been told. Anyways, but that media is terrific, and you do a great job with it. Now, one of the biggest accolades that someone has given you, or I think, maybe it's just a compliment, is that they say that you are an expert in storytelling. And I'll even read another quote. You said that it's extremely difficult to cut through the noise. Businesses, brands, public figures, they're all desperately trying to stand out. And that's the way it is in the investment business, to be seen and to be heard. So how do they do that? Well, Allison May says it's one word. It's storytelling. So Allison, help us understand how to craft our great story.
Everyone has a different story. And I mean, it is kind of the big buzzword now in marketing and PR. But if you, just to take a step back, if you watch commercials, the commercials that people really actually still watch, or the videos, are the ones with a story. It's not about, hey, this is a X, Y, and Z company, come buy our product. It's about that person that may be sitting at the table that's struggling paying the bills, and you see, the kids, and you see the day in their life, and then you don't even know the product or the brand until the end, because it's about a story. So for each person in each company, there are stories there, and you just need to be able to figure out a way to share it. It's hard to answer kind of in general, but you want to figure out what is it that your viewers or readers or your clients care about. It's not about your product. It's about what your product or what you can do for them. Can you help them save money for college when they have a toddler? So maybe the story is about how you helped one family and they have a toddler, and now, it's only costing them X amount of money a month, but by the time the toddler gets to college, then they're not going to have to worry about taking out loans. Maybe it's testimonials from other clients to talk about how you helped them. If you're a company that was started by somebody who, didn't have a job and didn't go to college, but they started their company because they just saw they had passion for this, but they figured out a way to build this company. I mean, everyone has a different story, and people want to know that. They want to know that they're doing business with a company that they can trust. There's a lot in your industry, and I'm sure you're aware of this, but there's a lot of lack of trust because of things that have happened.
In my industry, wait a minute, you're in the media.
Fake news? What's that?
What is that? Well, go ahead. Yes. Oh, you're right.
But in the financial industry, yeah. And everybody, and you're trusting these people to invest your money, and they don't know anything. I don't know anything about investing. So I trust my financial advisor. I don't know what they're doing. I just hope and pray that they're making the right decisions. Your stories can really be told by video. As you know, I really strongly believe in video. A, because it tells your story. B, because in the algorithms of social media and SEO, they like video. It gets people see it more. It generates more buzz, and you want to have emotion in there too. We always just stop selling your product and your brand, and give some people a reason to want to come to visit you, or to call you, or to do business with you.
Yeah, in our industry, we try to call that value add. So I'm going to bring more value than just the product. And it is a difficult, equation to try to solve, because a lot of, the management, they're not into the value add stuff. They want to tell you why their product is the best, and they believe so, then you should believe, kind of a feel to it. I think that your tip of the day posts, I guess is the appropriate word for them, that they are very inspiring, and they cause people to like you. And I think that's the first step in that know, or trust, do business with, or however it goes. Sound like I don't know what I'm talking about there. But anyways, the idea is that if they don't like you, then they're probably not going to do business with you. I use an analogy of a slot machine. You need to have 3 sevens to win. So on a scale from 0 to 10, the first 7 that you have to have, not a 6, doesn't have to be a 9, but it has to be at least a 7. They have to like the person. They have to like you. And if they don't like you, then you're never going to get anywhere. The second 7 is they have to like your company. And the company, has the overarching culture feel to it, has a reputation, which a lot of the things that you do can help promote a company. And then the third 7 is the product. So if they don't like you, they don't like the company, and don't like the product, a 7 across the board, you're really not going to get the business, because everything is a commodity that's out there. Mm-hmm. But what you bring to the table, though, is a different opinion. And I want to ask you what you think about this thought, is that the problem is not that people don't like you. And I'm not talking about you specifically, but anybody in business. The problem is not that they don't like you. They don't trust your company or the product. The problem is that they don't know you. You're not out there. And there is so much noise that's out there that people just don't know you. So are there some different like apps? You mentioned LinkedIn, but are there some different like tools of the trade that someone could use to get known in a good light?
So obviously LinkedIn, I mean, there's Facebook, but Facebook is really difficult for businesses. It's just, nobody sees your page unless you're spending millions of dollars of advertising. And Instagram, I know in the financial world, Instagram is not the best tool, but if you want to establish yourself as an expert in your industry, then you could create your own personal Instagram page and highlight kind of, your day and what you're doing if you're going to conferences, if you're traveling, and give inspiring quotes and kind of build your brand there. Twitter, I love Twitter, and a lot of people don't like it, but the media is all over Twitter. So I would recommend getting a Twitter page and start following people, obviously media in your industry, the CNBCs, the MSNBCs, the Fox Business, all of those. Because the more you actually read the news and what's going on in your industry, the more you can add value. So I think the number one way to get yourself out there is to try and get on a podcast, get quoted in an article, write, or be in the media. And you don't need to be on Fox Business. You can be in your local media. So the more you know what's going on, then you can take that national story and pitch it to your local media or to a podcast and say, hey, this just came down. There's this new tax plan, and we can talk about how this is going to affect people in 2019. So the more you're in the media, you start sharing out on those social media platforms, the more you're going to build that reputation, and people are going to be like, wow, they're everywhere. Well, they actually know what they're talking about. So that's why I talk about HARO a lot. It's help a reporter out, and anybody can use it. And you just have to be willing to pitch yourself and give those tidbits of information.
Yeah, that's super. And I embrace the idea of trying to use these, call them new age medias, new techniques and stuff like a podcast and such, to get out there. And I found out that some people actually do appreciate what I'm doing, and some people don't. I've got my haters that are out there, which I love you. I love you, haters. But often I'm reminded that the show is called The Awesome Wholesaler Experience. I'm called Awesome Mike,
Mm-hmm.
Magic Mike was already taken, but the idea is that it's awesome. It's not everyone. So I'm with you as far as getting out there and expressing my opinions and becoming known. If you're okay with it, I want to take a little different turn and kind of address something that's out there. I think it's sometimes the 800-pound gorilla or the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I think it's the right thing or whatever it's called. But and I want to get your opinion on it because it's, you're right in it. And it's the idea, or maybe just the reality that sometimes, especially with video now, some folks are using, and it's really just mostly the gals, you don't see the guys doing this, but they're using their beauty and really sometimes their sex appeal for marketing. And especially on LinkedIn with the videos, you'll see, just kind of like the Hollywood quality beauties that are on there. And I read somewhere that, and you might even be able to validate this or dispel it, but I read somewhere that more than, I think it's 83% of all of the video posts that are out there, people don't actually click the volume.
Yes.
They just watch them. They don't even click the volume of what's going on. So what is going on?
So a couple things. You probably notice a lot of videos now will have the text, like the closed caption, because, well, people aren't listening because a lot of them are at work and they're not looking on their phone because their computers are probably being monitored. So they don't want their boss or anyone to hear that they're listening to videos. People, just their attention span is like a goldfish. So it should be short and quick. I agree. There are a lot of videos and photos out there that women use their sex appeal to draw an audience. I mean, if you go on Instagram, you'll see it all over the place. The one thing that I started seeing on LinkedIn is just some photos that women will post, and they're very like model-like, but there's no substance to it. And so LinkedIn, I believe, should still be for business. If you want to post a super sexy picture of you, use Instagram. LinkedIn should be for business. I believe that if you're beautiful, use it, own it. There's nothing wrong with that. I've gotten some remarks on some of my videos about my cleavage, about, I'm only, using this, to draw attention. Well, you know what? I work really hard. I'm 43 or 42. God, 43, 42.
Slow down.
I work really hard. And so if I like an outfit, I'm going to wear it. At the end of the day, nobody is going to do business with me if I don't have the brains to back everything up. So yeah, maybe I may get a couple more views, but at the end of the day, all of my clients are with me because I know what I'm doing. So I'm very smart. Just because I may show a little bit of cleavage here and there, or I look good in an outfit, it's, I'm just going to own it. I always had insecurities, and more, women that I follow, successful CEOs, are just saying, you know what, just because you're pretty, just own it. So, the people that will comment, I'll wear a turtleneck one day and a low cut shirt the other day, and I don't strategically do it based on videos. It's just whatever I pull out of my closet.
Interesting. Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank, the New York realtor, she was doing an interview with A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez, and another fella, and she said these quotes. So I quote her. She said, basically, it's great being a woman in a male-dominated industry. She said, you'd walk into a room of the old boys club, and you had men in dark suits, and I walked in a room, she walked in a room with a red hot suit or a short skirt, nice legs and high heels. So she was noticed. It's a head start. And she also said that not being taken seriously is also an advantage. It's a huge advantage being a woman. You can flatter men. Men are easy to sell. And then she says, look at me with A-Rod. Every time I see him, I'm saying, you are so good looking. And by the way, A-Rod was like melting and gushing as she's saying this. She says, I just say it because he melts. And then if I want to sell him something, I have double the chance of selling it. And she says, you can't pull that off with a girl. They'll slap you in the face. So it's interesting that you're in alignment with her thoughts on using that, using the cards that you're dealt, if you would. What do you say to the guy that's got the face for radio that says, hey, that's not fair? Is it just not fair?
I don't think it's fair. You could say a woman who has less confidence could say that's not fair because you've got long blonde hair. I think that's a good question. I just think it is what it is. We're dealt the cards that we're dealt. And so even though some men may not think that they look great on camera, well, maybe they're really good writers, or you have to set yourself apart in whatever that may be. So if that's going to be a podcast that you're going to do, or if it's going to be just writing, at the end of the day, if you're good at your job, you're still going to get clients. You're still going to get the business, because being pretty may attract more people, but if they're not wanting to do business with you and they just want to be friends with you because you're pretty, you're going to weed them out very quickly, and they're not going to be part of your network. So if you're good at what you do, that really is all that matters. So I don't really have a good answer for that.
Well, that's a great answer.
Stumped me.
That's a great answer. And really there's probably no right answer. You're the guru, and I'm the layman just asking these, kind of call them naive and maybe innocent questions. But there also has to be, it's a double-edged sword in my view. There is the downside of it. Now I know that you have actually dealt with a situation, an online stalker that got kind of scary. Do you think, it's kind of is that the risk that you take in putting yourself out there?
Yes.
Let me continue. And I see now, which it actually bothers me, but there may be more to the story, but I see the comments on your posts like nice shoes.
Yeah.
And, what about the guy that crosses the line and they think that it's okay, like you're almost inviting them because you kind of put it out there? Is it a green light a little bit to approach or to comment like that? And where is the line? And is it really worth putting yourself out there, and taking a risk?
Yes. So it is worth putting yourself out there. because there's going to be a few people who are going to make those comments. The best thing you can do is not engage in conversation with them. I've received on a daily basis messages through LinkedIn of people saying things, and I ignore it. I just don't respond. Initially, if they say a nice comment like, "Oh, you're so pretty," I'll just respond, "Thank you." But if they continue, when you get a LinkedIn message, you can see if they viewed it, and it will be constant messages, and I just ignore it. Eventually, they'll stop. So the best thing you can do is not engage. What the problem I did with my online stalker was he was asking for help in the PR industry. So I responded, and then he kept going and going and going. I blocked him. He formed another account and then followed me again. And because my profiles are public, anybody can follow me. So the best thing to do is just ignore it. You're going to get weird people. I did not realize that LinkedIn is like a dating site. I thought it was more of a professional.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have, in my industry, in my business, I have to put myself out there. If I don't, I'm not going to get clients. I'm telling my clients to put themselves out there and to start doing videos and blogs. So who am I to give advice and not follow my own advice? So it's just a little part of the problem, but if you ignore it, usually it goes away. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you have to go testify in front of a grand jury like I did last week, but but you get police involved and you learn to protect yourself. Maybe you take some jiu-jitsu classes and you go from there. But it happens a lot, unfortunately. And actually, the more and more people who are getting stalked are younger girls and teenage girls online who are getting stalked. It's not 42-year-old women. So that's what we really need to be concerned about as parents, is more of our daughters are getting on social media and posting where they are, and you can find their location. And it's a very scary world now that we live in, because people can hide behind a computer or a phone and they can say anything they want, and you don't know where they are. They could be in Alaska. They could be in your hometown. You just don't know.
Yeah, it is. It actually infuriates me, and I'm that guy. I spent a dozen years in the infantry and in the Army, and I'm a martial arts guy, and I have 4 kids of my own and 2 teenage daughters as well. So it really bothers me when someone doesn't show respect, to those kids, and I don't. Maybe it's just my own personality, but it really bothers me. So I don't want to necessarily save the world. Maybe I do, but I want to put those guys in their place and say, button it up. Don't say anything. And, it's not okay.
Yeah, they're seeking attention. They're insecure and they're seeking attention. And if you give them attention, then it will continue, and they'll continue. So the best thing to do, and I've learned this from all my police friends recently, is just don't answer that phone, don't answer the text, just ignore them. They will go away. Unfortunately, they'll probably move on to someone else, but just don't give them the attention.
Yeah, that's a hard one for me, because I want to kind of cleanse the system.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you did kind of start down the road, and I want to talk about ghosting on social media. Especially on Snapchat. A lot of the traveling sales guys that are out there and gals that are out there, they probably use Snapchat and other social apps to kind of maintain some connection to the home. And so real quick, what are some tips that they can do to make sure that their kids are safe and they're not, being vulnerable, but also still stay in touch?
Sure. So on Snapchat, if you go into your settings, it's called Ghost. And what you can do is set it so either only your friends can see where you are, or you can just shut it off. So what it means is anybody, if you don't ghost your account, anybody who follows you can see the exact location of where you are wherever you recently Snapchatted. I found this out when I was at SeaWorld. I was with a client, but we happened to go to SeaWorld for a little bit, and my daughter texted me, "What are you doing at SeaWorld?" I said, "How do you know that?" She's like, "I saw you on Snapchat." I'm like, "What?" So I learned from my 13-year-old on how anyone, which was very scary because my stalker was following me on Snapchat. So for kids and for everyone else, there's no need that you need to share your location of where you are. You can still Snapchat, you can still send snaps. There's no need that they need to pretty much have a GPS on you. A lot of parents will do it so they can see their kids, but I would ghost yourself on Snapchat. Also, something I did not know is when you take photos, when you go into your settings, make sure that your location is turned off. If your location is on, anyone you send a photo to can zoom in and see where you are. So think about it. I mean, whether you're on a, I don't know, selling something on Craigslist and you're going to meet at a location that you think is safe, but if you send them a photo of your couch, they're going to know where your address is. So same thing with Instagram. You could turn your location off of that, and Facebook as well. And the other thing too that people do and is not very smart is when they are traveling or they're on vacation, they post that they're traveling and on vacation. It's fine if you're traveling in somebody's home, but if they have a routine and they go to the gym every morning at 5 a.m. and they post that, a lot of times people are watching you and you don't know that. So just be careful and kind of change up your routine and of where you are. We're in a society where we want to share everything, which I think is great, but I think that you need to be careful about where your location is. Take a look, go in your privacy settings on your phone and see, because things may automatically be turned on and you may not even know it.
It's very helpful stuff. It is a scary world. It keeps moving though. It was just a couple of years ago and Snapchat wasn't even a thing.
Right.
So I think it's just an ongoing battle, to keep things correct. And like you said, put yourself in the right position to, still live your life, to not hide in fear, to still be able to put yourself out there and be who you are. But definitely, to keep your P's and Q's in line. So, a lot of these folks that are listening, they represent companies and they're out there. You have used this thing called the tip of the day, and I'm going to attempt to emulate it or copy it, if you would. I'm not sure I'm going to do the shirts, but that's what I call it, maybe. But ideally, though, is it's almost, I thought it was just one breath, and but you do it. Sometimes you do take 2 breaths, but it's a quick little. It's 10 seconds, right? That's your target.
10 seconds, yep.
And then you're talking about something. Now, are you doing it to have the person be interested enough to interact with you, or is it something where you're trying to actually teach something? And yes, about yours, but also about if someone wants to do this to gain kind of their own exposure, how would you recommend they go about setting it up?
Yeah, so I do it for both. So one is to just educate, because a lot of people don't even know what public relations is, and it's constantly changing. And I think people think PR is for these massive companies or these celebrities who need publicists. Well, everybody needs PR, and not everyone can afford it. Not everyone can afford an agency or even in-house PR. So if I can give somebody a couple of tips that they can do on their own, I just believe in providing as much education to people as possible. So that's one reason. The other thing too is to engage and to have conversations. Somebody emailed me to ask me about Haro the other day, and it takes a lot of time to respond to everyone, but the more you respond, the more of a relationship you're going to build, and they're going to trust you, and maybe you'll get them as a client, and maybe they'll have a friend, maybe you'll just create a friendship. So you do want to have people engaged, and that's why sometimes I'll pose a question to try and get people's views on a certain ad or something. So those are the main reasons why I do it. I think that everyone can do it, and again, if you're not comfortable in front of a camera, you can write out a tip of the day. Just there's a great app, it's called Word Swag, and it's free, and you can write a quote, you can customize a quote, you can get a photo in there, a background, you can put your logo in there. Do a tip that way, and it's just a graphic, and you can customize it to your brand. If you don't have a designer in-house, do something simple, put that out every day or every other day. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing it every day, do a Tuesday tip. Every Tuesday you do a tip in your industry, or a Thursday thought, and you hashtag it. Tuesday tip, Thursday thought, Monday motivation. All those are the big hashtags that people are using. And so the more of a hashtag that you use that's common, the more people will see you. So my mentor told me to start blogging and video blogging when I started my business. I'm like, nobody cares about PR. I don't even know what to say. And I started doing these lengthy, highly produced videos, these video blogs that were 3-4 minutes. I got nothing, a couple of views. It's boring. so I said, I'm just going to start recording these 10-second tips in the car, keep it short and simple. And it works. You know, here I was doing this high production video shoot, and I'm using my phone in the car because it's usually the only time I have to do it. Everyone says, why do you do it in the car? Because I'm just back and forth between meetings, and it's the only time I have to. And if I do it in the house, usually the kids are home, so you're going to see the kids screaming or running or something. But again, if you can write a blog on it, you can do the 5 tips. Keep it very simple. Write down a bunch of things that you can say. You'd be surprised how many tips that you have that are very easy to you, that's just common knowledge, but to your followers, they don't know anything. Because remember, you're the expert, and think of yourself as a teacher.
Yeah, it's amazing. And your ears are tuned in. Like if I'm listening to you, you might be able to get through to me more than if I read something on a bulletin board or a billboard somewhere, because it's you that's telling me. I'm more interested, and it's a nice way to kind of add value to your clientele. Now, one thing I want to ask you about is your voice. Okay, you're a professional, and it's very interesting. I find that I have my own little cheesy, voice, and hey, it's awesome, Mike, and whatever, and but it's really just me. It's the way I talk normally most times. But you have this voice. So is that it's a trained voice? It sounds like your tone is always tapering off. Is that a professional skill?
I don't know if I ever do it the right way. I think it's just something that you learn being in TV. So I'll let you in on an embarrassing time in my life. I wanted to be a journalist since I was in 4th grade. That was my passion. And I fortunately met my mentor, who still is my mentor now, as she was in the news business, and she took me under her wing and told me everything I needed to know. So instead of going outside and playing with my friends in the neighborhood, I would go through the newspaper and I would write out scripts, and I would sit in my room and I would pretend I was a news anchor at 9 years old. And whenever I got in trouble or grounded, it wasn't the phone was going away or I couldn't go to my friend's house. My parents would say, you can't watch the news tonight. Such a dork. Such a dork. No news for you, Allison. And I'm sure when my parents listen, they'll laugh. But so probably, but I can't even remember that far back, but I probably started practicing my voice. I would watch these newscasters. I would watch Katie Couric and Diane Sawyer and all of these journalists in practice. And when you get in TV, you kind of just start learning. You kind of copy everyone else. I don't think I never got training for it. And my old news director from WPRI, who I'm still good friends with now, would bring me in after my live shots, and he'd say, sit down. I said, oh God. He's like, watch. And I never wanted to watch my own stuff. I hated it. And he's like, what would you do differently? You're talking with your hands too much. You're speaking too fast. And so he would bring me in and he would coach me on how to do live shots, which a lot of news directors don't do. Gary Brown is his name. I'm just going to give him a shout out because he's amazing. He's a VP of Meredith Broadcasting now, and he has been so successful. But here he was taking this, 25-year-old under his wing and saying, here's how you do it. Don't do this and do that, which is so important if you're a leader in business, is to help these younger staff members build their confidence and their whole experience. So I guess it's a really long answer to that question. Yeah.
Well, really, I appreciate the conversation, and you have been quoted as saying that confidence is the key.
It is the key.
So how can a sales rep or a person that's a field territory sales rep go out and and build that confidence organically?
Sometimes you have to fake it. You have to fake it. You have to make yourself believe. And so you may have to literally look in the mirror and say, like, I'm good enough, I'm pretty enough, I'm smart enough, like they did, in Saturday Night Live or whatever it was. But you have to tell yourself that you are the expert and that your industry, your stuff. And the more you tell yourself that, the more it's going to convey when you're out meeting with clients and you're out on the media, and you may come home and we all do it. No matter how confident someone is, we all go home and say, I don't even know did I make the right decision? Am I good enough to do this? I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's being confident. Actually, I read in a book by Heather Monahan, the confidence creator. She talks about the only way to be confident is to be authentic. and to be real and to just admit that you're scared and that you don't have all the answers. I'm very transparent with my clients. I met with someone the other day and he's like, paying all this money, how are you going to guarantee you get us press? I'm like, I can't guarantee that. I can try, I can show you everything we're doing. Bottom line is you may not get any press this month. So you've got to be real. And I think the realer you are, the more confidence you'll gain and the more people are going to trust you.
Those are words well said. Appreciate that. So, appreciate your time this morning, and just a whole wheelbarrow full of great value that we've added. And it's not typical too, so I appreciate that as well. But I do have a couple of signature questions, Alison.
Okay.
And when you were a kid, did you go by Allie, or is that like taboo? It's Alison, right?
People did call me Allie. So both Alison and Allie. A lot of people ended up calling me by my last name, which was Maloni. So I would get that, but all different versions.
Maloni. I thought maybe it was Maloney.
Yeah.
May,
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, so I do have a couple of signature questions, and I ask all the guests these questions. So
okay.
Can't wait to hear your answers to them. But here we go. Okay. So imagine yourself, you're making a call on your phone, and on the other end of the line, a 25-year-old Alison Maloni answers the phone. You've got 5 minutes to give yourself, a younger version of yourself, some great advice. What would you tell yourself at age 25?
That you're going to fail. You're going to fail a lot, and that it's okay, because every time you fail, you learn something. And don't take it as a negative experience. Take it as a positive experience. And everything happens for a reason. And, you always hear this when, you're in like the worst part of your life. Everyone says, everything happens for a reason. It's all going to work out. But it really is true. There is a plan for you, and you have to go through ups and downs, that roller coaster ride. And it's not always going to be smooth, and that's okay, because take every lesson that you learn, and that's going to make you a better person. So don't be afraid to fail.
It's very good. It's very good. Do you think that the 25-year-old Alison could hear you say that? Do you think she would listen?
Let's see. I think that she would listen. She may hear it. She may not listen. I think at 25, we are so young. And when you're 25, you think that you know everything. And you don't think that you're very young. But now, as an older person, I think that hopefully she would listen. But I think that, you'll learn. She'll learn from experience. You hope that she would listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if she would.
It's funny. I've been told, oh yeah, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you're supposed to listen twice as much. I thought about that a lot, and I'm thinking, well, when I was 25, especially, even today, my ears must have been like this big because I didn't hear a whole lot.
Yeah. I'm sure, and I think any 25-year-old and maybe even 30 will say, I'm not going to fail. No, I'm smart. I'm this, I'm on the right track. And you're going to fail at everything. You're going to fail at relationships. You're going to fail at work. You're going to feel like you fail as a parent. It's just, the older you get, I think the more stress you have, but we have to just remember that we're human and we make mistakes and just learn from them.
Sounds like a little bit of that mother's guilt coming
out.
Oh
there gosh.
A little bit of
every day.
So yeah, I think fathers have it as well. Second question, and this is a fun one. So Alison, if you could have any superpower, which one would you choose, and what would you do with it?
Oh gosh, superpower. The superpower.
The ability
That's really good.
The ability to stop time so you can answer this question, right?
I think the ability. Oh my gosh, to stop time would be great. I could stop aging. No, I think the ability to take pain away, from my kids, from people. I've seen too many people, unfortunately, die of cancer. So if I could take pain away from people, that would be an amazing superpower.
Yeah, that would be a terrific one. And I think you actually do that a little bit. I think your tip of the day, I look forward to them. Not only because you have some great content that's out there, but you're like I don't know, like a ray of sunshine. It's like, hey, here's a little positive, mojo. Take this with you. Enjoy your day. And I like it. I like it very much. So yeah, taking the pain away. That's a good one. That's a great answer.
Thanks.
Do you have a favorite tip of the day? Like, do you have one that you're like, oh, that's a good one, and maybe you come back to that?
The one that, and actually a new client I just signed on said that this one resonated with him. It's Haro, help a reporter out. It's like the best thing ever. It's you can sign up for it. It comes out 3 times a day, 5:30 a.m., 12:30, and then 5:30. And it's reporters, bloggers, podcast editors in all different industries that put out stories they're working on, and they're looking for people to interview. It is like you're being handed these stories. And if you have a client or if you're in that industry, you just simply respond. Hey, I'm so-and-so. I can talk about X, Y, and Z. Here's my quote. Here's my info. And you can get, Forbes, Entrepreneur, NBC, major media outlets put this content out there, and they're just handing it to you. So we've gotten so many press features for our clients on just from Haro, and people have, anyone can use it. You don't have to be a PR agency. It's a lot of work because you've got to read through them, and then you do have to respond, and you have to respond right away because everyone else is responding. But it's such a great opportunity if you really want to get that PR and you can't afford an agency, or you don't have anyone internally. I love it. It's probably my favorite tip because I'm just like handing people this access to give themselves publicity.
Yeah, you said, what did you say? PR media, or PR is free media.
It is.
Yeah.
It's free. You talk about advertising. Advertising, you're paying to say how great you are, or you're paying somebody to say how great you are, even if your story's in there. But PR, the journalist is telling the story. You're in there as the expert. It's just a great, and then they put it on their social media, and and then you have that. So if you do an advertisement, I'm sure the advertisers out there are going to kill me, but you can't do anything with that ad. They're not going to give you the commercial. They're not going to give you that radio spot. But with press, you can share it out. It's on your website. It's on social media. When you're getting interviewed, now you've got the reporter who's tweeting out, sometimes a videographer, then the news station. So now all of a sudden you're in front of like 1.2 million viewers. It's huge. It's great.
Yeah. No, I applaud it. In fact, I'm trying to do it myself too. So I am not only a subscriber, but also trying to do it as well. So, hey, can you tell us, you just celebrated your 5th year anniversary with Alison May PR. You have your show, The Hustle going on. And can you tell us, what does the next 5 years look like for your business?
The next 5 years, we're going to just grow. We're going to continue to grow. Ideally, I'd like to go in and do more media training, because a lot of these companies have great PR teams and even PR agencies, and they're pitching themselves, but these CEOs or CFOs, they don't know how to speak in front of a camera, or they're nervous and they can't speak in sound bites. And it's a real problem, which unless you've been on camera before, you just don't know what you're doing. So we'd love to go in and do more media training, consulting. My hope is to do more speaking and commentating and all of that fun stuff. But we're going to grow. What I like is that we're still small enough, so we're a boutique and we can give that one-on-one attention. I don't ever want to lose that. So that's an issue as you grow and you get more clients. You always want to be able to make sure that you are who you started off as, and you're not this big agency. These agencies, the president will go meet, with this company, and then all of a sudden they're getting handed off to a junior, PR associate who doesn't know anything. So I never want to do that. I always want to be hands-on, and, it's the sky's the limit, but I'm excited. Another 5 more years and who knows where we'll be.
Yeah, it shows. You're definitely exuding confidence and excitement for the future. So wish you many, many happy returns with that one. So, at this time, I just want to really just to say thanks, personally, and probably on behalf of a lot of your clients as well. So, thanks for being on the show today. Really thank you for the years of positive and helpful tips. We all appreciate your work, Alison. And, I can probably, like I said, speak on their behalf to where I say that we wish you as just a bounty of fortune and success, both now and in the future. As we say on the Awesome Wholesaler Experience podcast, it's about the journey, and we wish you well on yours. I do look forward to seeing you again soon. Wholesalers, thanks for listening. This has been another episode of the Awesome Wholesaler Experience podcast. And as usual, if you'd like to support the show, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and you'll never miss another episode like this one again. And like our good friend and recent guest, Jeffrey Gittimer, said, make sure you share the episode to both of your friends. Seriously, though, if you do enjoy the show and it's not too much trouble, please leave us a glowing 5-star review and rating. It really does help. But seriously, thanks very much, everyone, for listening and for watching. Thanks for supporting the show. And, of course, thanks for being awesome. Good night, everybody.